All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Unconference. And in this session, we're going to be talking about all of the benefits of Quizlet Teacher, which is a special upgrade that we built specifically for teacher accounts. I'll also be going through what is offered with a free account and kind of comparing those two options. We'll also be hearing from an educator about how to actually apply these features in the classroom and why she really finds value out of them. So without further ado, these are your presenters. My name is Amalia. You might have heard from me from an earlier session where we talked about creating amazing content on Quizlet. I work closely with our product teams to launch new features. I also help communicate these new features to our users to make sure that they understand how to get the most value out of them.
Report to your station. Please report to your station. A family's waiting to be serviced.
Okay, so also on this call is Courtney Osborne. She's an educator. She teaches high school social studies in Texas, and she will provide more of an introduction for herself. But just to begin, let's talk about the basics. So the first step to doing anything on Quizlet is signing up for a free account. A free account gives you access to all of our core features that really help you help your students practice and master any material that you are trying to teach them in the classroom. Some of these features include unlimited study sets. So this means with free account, I can create, 1 million Quizlet study sets, however I want to make. We've seen accounts with, over 600. It's really amazing what people have been able to do. So you can do that with a free account. You can also create basic diagrams. So we haven't gone too deep into our diagram functionality. I know Nathan, one of our earlier presenters, talked about it. But essentially, with basic diagram capabilities, you can drag and drop an image into your study set and add up to 8 points that correspond with terms within your set to that image. So just 8 points is that cap on the basic diagrams feature. We support text-to-speech audio. So I talked about this a little bit earlier, but essentially when you choose a language for your study set, that actually corresponds with text-to-speech audio, which means as your students are studying your set, they're actually hearing the terms and definitions being read aloud. And so we support those 18 different languages. I think there's a list of them somewhere in the Help Center. Maybe that's something we can add to chat. But English, Spanish, French, a lot of the big ones used on Quizlet we support. We also have a free image gallery. So as you're creating content, that means that you can actually search a term or a definition and click onto the little image icon to see free images that we are offering to you based on that search. So that's pretty limited. It's up to 8 images per term, but you can always search a different term for that card. So there's lots of ways to get value out of that free feature, and it's super easy because it's just embedded right in the Create Set page. So that's a great one that people really seem to get a lot of value from. Unlimited folders. So this is more about organization on Quizlet. With a free account, you can create unlimited folders to organize your content. And we addressed this a little bit earlier in a session, but folders are great for organized material for yourself. So if I wanted to have all of my Spanish sets within one folder, with a free account, you also get up to 8 classes. And classes are a little bit better for organizing content for a specific period, for a specific level, and actually connecting that with your students, because you can have your students join as members into your classes. So with a free account, up to 8 classes. And then also with a free account, you get access to all Quizlet study modes, as well as the basic version of Quizlet Live. And we just went over this in our last session, but basic Quizlet Live is essentially you can play Quizlet Live on any study set with terms and definitions. And that means that the definitions will be the prompts that your students see, and then the terms will actually be the listed answer option. So that configuration is free on any study set on Quizlet. Okay, so Quizlet Teacher. Again, Quizlet Teacher is this special account upgrade that we have created with extra tools that help teachers in particular ways. And we call those teacher superpowers, and they allow you to have deeper customization of your sets, as well as get a little bit more insights into how your students are using Quizlet. So just to review, like the free account, you get unlimited sets, unlimited folders, access to all of our study modes offered on Quizlet. But some things that you get that are different from the free account are advanced diagram tools. So that is not only limited to 8 points, you can actually have unlimited points on your diagram, and you can also use custom shapes, which, depending on the content, you want to get really detailed with your outlines. That's really helpful. Let's say, on a map, if you're making a map diagram, you might want to outline those states very specifically. Another piece of the diagrams upgrade options is that you can copy any diagram you find on Quizlet, even those who are using those upgraded features. Teacher-only search, this is something that we reviewed in our first session about creating and finding great content. But essentially, when you search for content on Quizlet, you can filter it by sets that have been created by other teachers only. So this kind of can save you time getting to the really good quality content. In terms of customizations on your study set, you can record custom audio. We've also talked about this one a bit, but essentially we have that text-to-speech audio for free. And if you're a teacher where that text-to-speach audio isn't covering the language you're teaching, or if you want to record slower pronunciations or anything else more creative versus just reading the text aloud, custom audio is a great tool for you to do this. Custom images, so we have that free gallery, but for upgraded teachers, you can actually upload your own images. So this really makes sense if you want specific images, or like Stephanie said in an earlier session, you want to upload GIFs, which really give a little bit more motion to your images. That's a wonderful feature that I know a lot of people find a lot of value from. OCR and offline access, I just want to mention this quickly. We do have a Quizlet mobile app, and one of the features for upgraded users on the app is that you can actually access everything while you're offline. So I know as a teacher, this can be convenient if you're creating content. OCR is actually something where you can take a picture of something and then kind of pull from the text on the image into a set. So it's another kind of easy import option if you're using the mobile app. In terms of organization, you get unlimited classes. So again, with the free account, you get up to 8. With Quizlet Teacher, you get as many classes as you like, which again just allows you to have more organization around your content. And then class progress. So I'm actually going to leave this mostly to Courtney to cover, because I know she gets a lot of use out of this feature, but essentially it is a view of your students' activity on Quizlet, as well as a view of group progress on a particular set, so how they're doing with those terms. So I'll leave that to Courtney to really dive into that one. And again, you get access to all the Quizlet study modes with a free account or an upgraded account, but you also get advanced features on Quizlet Live. So we covered these a little bit in the last session, but you can basically configure the game in more ways. So you can actually have, instead of the definitions being the prompts, you can switch that. So the terms are the prompts and the definitions are answers. So it's another way to kind of quiz your students. You can also play on diagram sets. So you can actually see, the definition or the term as the prompt, and then have students actually answer with a diagram. So actually selecting points on the diagram for their answer. So that's really fun. And then finally, one thing with the free account is that we do show ads on Quizlet. That's how we support, a massive company like Quizlet and offer the product for free for everyone. So if you are an upgraded user, we actually remove those ads. And the best thing about Quizlet Teacher in regards to that is that we also remove those ads on any sets that you have created. So not only is it the case that if you logged into Quizlet, you wouldn't see ads, your students wouldn't see ads on any of the sets you create when they're studying. So that's a really useful way to kind of share the benefits of your upgrade with your students as well. Okay, I'm not going to spoil that. So let's go ahead and hand it to Courtney. Courtney, I'm going to go ahead and unmute you, and if you want to take over the screen,
sure,
I'll let you take it away.
All right. I guess y'all can see me. All right, so I'm just going to kind of introduce myself, like she said, a little bit about who I am. I'm a high school social studies teacher, like she said. I love educational technology tools, especially retrieval practice ones like Quizlet. And I'm passionate about learning, both for myself and for my students. And when we're done, if you have any questions, any follow-up questions, or if you just, wanted to touch base with me, I am on Twitter. There's my Twitter handle. You can contact me. I will answer any questions anyone has. So that's who I am. I would say how I do what I do every day. This is my professional learning network. It's composed of teachers here on my campus and away from my campus, including my husband, who's also an educator, and also our administration and our district superintendent. Basically, they just encourage us to take risks, to never stop learning, and make sure that we're focused on every student. And that's what I love about Quizlet, is it gives me the opportunity to make sure I'm focused on every student.
Could you make sure the screen is shared? Just to make sure everyone can see it, I think you got to hit the share button at the bottom and then just select the screen.
Share, hold on.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
Share button at the bottom. Okay.
And then.
Is that better?
Perfect.
Oh, okay.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Okay, sorry about that.
Okay.
So anyway, that's kind of my how. And then here's my why. We all have that, right? These are my students. They're why I do what I do every single day. So that's just kind of a little bit about me. Something I did want to talk about that I feel pretty strongly about, I do love educational technology tools, and Quizlet is definitely in my top 3. I absolutely love Quizlet. But I did want to say a brief thing about ed tech tools. I know that if you're new to educational technology tools, or if you're just trying to use more of them, maybe this school year, maybe your administration has asked you to or whatnot, I know it can get overwhelming, and sometimes we can get carried away by, let's just throw some technology in here. Well, I just want to encourage you to not just use technology just to throw it out there. Cult of Pedagogy actually had a podcast last month, and they talked about how you should really question yourself as to, is this tool changing something I'm doing and the way that I'm teaching and the way that students are learning? Is this innovative? Is this different? Is this tool really changing their learning experience, or is it just an online worksheet? And the other thing is, we should be focused on impact. We should make sure that what we're doing is changing the situation for our learners and making an impact on our learners, especially for different types. And what I love about Quizlet Teacher is that gives me the opportunity to double check my impact and make sure that I am reaching all those students. So it's just kind of my plug real quick. I love technology, but I especially think that it's important to use good quality tools like Quizlet. So just briefly going over the things that I think are great about Quizlet Teacher is I have unlimited classes available to me. This is great if you have multiple preps like I do. It's also great to have a spot for students to be able to put study sets that they've created. And I'll show you in a minute a little bit about how I use those class sets as well. Student progress versus class progress. Again, I'll go over this when I'm in my Quizlet, my actual account with you guys. So let me go ahead and do that now. So for instance, if we're going to go, so here, okay, so on the left, you can see all of my different classes. I've decided for this next year that I actually want to have them pulled up by class period so that I can really narrow my focus. That way, if I have, let's say we have a fire drill in the middle of 6th period and they miss the topic that I'm talking about and everyone else gets it, but they didn't get it, I can really focus in and hone in on what they need the next time we meet. But here you can see I have unlimited classes. I use it in lots of different ways. I have it for my multiple preps. I also have a class for y'all. And I've also have created study sets for other classes that my students may need extra help in. I get the other teachers to give me their study sets, or I work with someone. I search on the Quizlet account. I try to find those for the students, and those seem to be the ones that they struggle with, so I add those in there. And then I have one for student study sets. That's great too. So just having the opportunity to have completely unlimited classes is really great, really helpful. It helps me organize my content, and it helps keep students in one place. But anyway, I was going to talk about student progress and class progress. Let me go into my world geography, for instance. And I'm going to go down to sub-Saharan Africa. All right. So on this page, you can see data for the students that have studied these Quizlets, these study sets. As you can see, you choose your filter for the days. We're going to go to the past year since we're obviously not in school right now. And as you can see here, this shows, normally you would see a section that says sometimes missed, and then, or rarely missed, sometimes missed, and I can't remember what the other one is, rarely, sometimes, I don't know.
It's always missed or never missed.
Thank you, always and never, okay.
No problem.
So as you can see, my students are pretty well versed with the topic. But here I can see, for instance, that 98% of my students understood that the reason there's so many climate regions in Africa is based on the latitude and elevation. So I can really break that down, especially if you have it by class period. You can really break it down to see where your students are struggling or where they might need extra work. And so that's really great to see. Just take a whole picture for at a glance, an overview, one place to see all your data of really where your students are at. But I can also go right here and I can see a different view. This is for specific students. So I can see when they last worked on a set. I can see what activities they've worked on. Okay, I can also, like, let's say, for instance, Colin, you know, did the flashcards and then he did the test, and maybe instead of a 90 on his best try, he only had a 70. Maybe I might encourage Colin to go back to his flashcards or go back to spelling or matching or whatnot. Really, I don't assign this as homework. I really give this to my students as a tool to get better and to learn the content that they need to learn. And if I have a student, for instance, if Caleb did poorly on the test and he came to me in a one-on-one conference and said, Ms. Osborne, what can I do to do better? I would pull up his account and I would look at it and I would say, well, it looks like you only did flashcards. Maybe next time you might actually want to try matching or try learning or try the test. The test is a great one. I would just encourage them to use different tools. And then maybe he would discover that he really could do it himself. But with the Quizlet Teacher, I have the ability to look at the whole class, like I said, based on what the percentages are for each class. So that's really great. And really, I can use this data, whether it's class progress or student progress. I can use that if I'm trying to meet with a parent or if I'm having to go speak to admin, maybe a meeting or whatnot about a particular student. I can let them know, hey, you know, most of the kids know about 76% of these, and this student's falling below 50. They're really just not getting it. We're covering it and they're just not getting it, or they're not practicing enough. It really gives me a tool to be able to help that student better. So, so here is the class progress. And again, this would be the view, whoops. This would be the view that you would have as a Quizlet teacher for the whole entire class. And usually I have ones that are actually sometimes missed or almost always. So this is pretty significant for them to be rarely missed. All right, so that's really all about student progress and class progress. If you have any questions about that, if I wasn't clear on that, let me know. The other great thing about Quizlet Teacher is all the custom features that you can have and that you can really make it your own. For instance, with Sub-Saharan Africa, I actually visited there, and so my stories might be a little bit different than, let's say, you know, the general teacher, and each of us has what we bring to our classroom and what we bring to our content. So you can actually bring that not just into the classroom, but into Quizlet. For example, if I'm talking about farming in Africa, I'm going to be able to plug in this picture, a picture that I took in Rwanda of women coffee farmers. And I've already told them the story of these amazing women and whatnot, so that when they go home and they're studying, they see these women and they remember, oh yeah, those women are coffee farmers. And that's their leading economic industry is farming. So they can kind of tie it back. So instead of just using the typical images that are available to you with the free Quizlet, I'm actually able to plug in custom images. And it really is impactful for the students to remember the conversations that we had about it. when I'm able to show them a picture of elevation, they can understand why Rwanda is known as the land of 1,000 hills, because they're looking at it. And I can talk to them about how long it took for us to hike to that school or whatever. So whatever you have, you're able to plug in whatever pictures. You can use, like they said, you can use any kind of image for that. You just upload it right into Quizlet. So that's pretty awesome. And it really connects to whatever you're teaching in the class. So I think that's awesome. So I just think that it makes the material more engaging, really. I'm going to go back to my class, and I'm going to show you a little bit about diagrams. I know you're going to hear about it later, and you've heard about it already a little bit, but let me just show you some of the custom features of having Quizlet Teacher for diagrams. Of course, you can copy other people's diagrams, or you can upload any image of your own. But then you can make custom shapes. For instance, this is not a standard shape, but you can create it in Quizlet Teacher. So you don't have to, these right here are actually the normal buttons that you have for Quizlet diagram, but these other ones are not, these are custom shapes, and so you can actually create your own. So that's pretty awesome. You can also take anyone's diagram that's already on Quizlet and make it your own. And you can also browse here as well. So if I were going to look for a neuron, I could look there, and I'm going to change this custom option to teacher created only. That'll help you make your search a little bit quicker. And let's say I want to use this one. This is what I choose. Well, hold on, sorry. Okay, go over to diagrams, teacher only. Okay, we're good. All right, so let's say I want to take this neuron, but let's say my students don't need to know myelin sheath. I mean, they do, but let's pretend like they don't. So I would, oops, I could click here, and I can actually delete, hold on. I have to have this copied in my class first, I apologize. So I can go here and I can choose to delete that point. And I can either just delete it from my diagram, or I can remove it from the entire study set. And I just reduced it down to 15 terms. And as you can see, myelin sheath is not on here. I know you'll get further into diagrams, I think they said in another session, but I did just want to point out that you have a lot of custom features with those diagrams. You can filter out the teacher-only study sets or diagrams, but you can also make sure you have, you know, custom shapes and whatnot. One custom shape I have, so these are the typical, these are the standard points that you can use, but I needed to create a rain shadow. So as you can see, I just drew a triangle, and that created a rain shadow for my students. It's a silly drawing. That's how I teach windward and leeward side of a mountain. That's my giant husband. He's the mountain. And I'm nice and dry on the leeward side, and he's getting all the wind and rain, and he's creating a rain shadow for me. And so I describe that in my class, and again, then I'm allowed to use that custom image, but then I can also use a custom diagram shape as well to better, you know, engage with my students even when they're not in front of me. Let's see. Let me go back to my presentation. Let me make sure that so we talked about, yeah, okay. And then you can also add your own voice on any of your study sets. I'm actually in the process of doing that for our ELLs as we speak. Basically, instead of having the recorded voice, you can do your own. And you can customize it to where you can make your voice slower or faster. Certain words may have emphasis, and so I'm able to let them hear at home the way that I would speak it in class, and it helps them with content language acquisition. So that's really helpful. It's a really great tool for the custom more customization available for Quizlet Teacher. Quizlet Live, I know you guys just went over that, and it's an awesome tool. The kids love it. She talked about doing random groups for their teams. However, I sometimes like to do my own teams. I know she went over like an example of that, so I won't get all into that for you, but just know that you do have the ability to customize your Quizlet teams, and so that's really helpful. And then just some other perks. We have night theme is available to us as Quizlet teachers, and your students can switch to night theme. So if they're studying your Quizlet at night, they don't have to have it bright and shining and glaring in their face. Another function that I really like and really appreciate is no ads. I know that she already talked about not having ads, but that's really great. When they're focused and studying on my study set, I want them to just focus on my study set. I may only get 5 minutes of their time. I don't want that disrupted with ads or whatnot. So they're really able to focus solely on that. So that's great. I think that's pretty much it. Did y'all have anything else?
Wonderful. Well, thanks so much for that, Courtney. That was amazing. And I love, love, love that diagram example with your giant husband. It's just the best thing I've ever seen. So now we're going to bump over to Q&A. And Olivia is with me again today to help out with that. Olivia, do we have some questions queued up?
We do. Can you see me?
Yes.
My question. I can only see you. So first off, there are, can you see me?
Yeah.
Great. There are several questions about if class progress keeps track of how long students spend studying. We do not log that in class progress. That being said, it's something that many teachers have asked for, and it's something that we are looking into and may consider adding in the future. But for now, what we show in class progress is when a student started a study set, started reviewing, when a student finished studying, if they did finish, and then for modes with a score, for example, gravity, test, match, you can see the student's best score for that mode during a particular time period.
That's right.
And then another related question from Anonymous. How long does Quizlet keep student data progress? Do they stay as long as you have an account? Is student progress only a feature on the teacher upgrade? Yes, class progress is only available to people who purchase a teacher subscription. And as long as a student is in your class, you can go back to see their study activity dating back 1 year from the date you are looking. At that point, it rolls off and we log going forward, but you can't see 2 or 3 years in the past.
Olivia,
and as
maybe
long,
you could,
sorry, I was just saying, as long as you have a Quizlet teacher upgrade, you will be able to see student progress. I think something important to note here is if, for example, your subscription expired at the end of the year, you decided to wait until August or September to renew, any class progress that you had access to prior that's within that 1 year time period will reappear when you re-upgrade your account. So if you let your subscription lapse, renew in the future, we still show you some data.
Yep, that's correct.
Were you going to say something, Amalia?
Nope, I was going to ask you that exact question and you answered it.
Let's see. On the paid Quizlet teacher account, does Quizlet Live allow the teacher to choose the number of students on the teams? No, it does not, but you can create custom teams. So you can decide which students are grouped together for different games.
Yes, and teams are just automatically either 3 or 4 students, depending on the number of total students who are joining a game. And this is just because of how the game is really set up, where each student screen sees 2 to 4 answer options. So we kind of have to have a few limits in there to make the game really function and make it fair so that each student has enough answers to choose from.
Here's a great question about classes more generally from another anonymous attendee. Lots of those. And their question is, as a new school year starts, what is your suggestion for removing students from the previous year's sets? So I typically advise teachers to either remove all students, all members from their classes at the start of a new school year, aside from themselves, and then send the join link for that class to their new students. That way you only have to manage the student attendance as opposed to deleting your entire class, having to add all sets and material you want to share back. That being said, there is no harm in simply deleting the past year's classes and creating new ones and inviting your students at the start of the year. And I think another important thing to note that sometimes teachers get stressed about is that when you delete a class, the sets you'd added are removed from the class, from that structure. They are not deleted. They do not disappear from your account.
That's a great point. Classes are really just kind of the organization framework that you can add sets into, but deleting them or editing them has no effect on your actual study sets.
Yep. And then I think another related question, I can't remember quite where this was, but I saw it earlier. Someone asked if your subscription expires, what happens to all of your content? Nothing changes to your content when your subscription expires. You will still be able to listen to all of your recorded audio. You can still see all of your uploaded images. You can still send links to sets you created when you were subscribed to your students, create classes. The only things that change are that you would no longer be able to upload new images to sets, use advanced diagrams, set creation tools, record new audio, and then obviously class progress is no longer available to you. But the core content you've created while you're a subscriber, nothing changes there.
Great.
I was going to say, in my class, what I do is at the beginning of the year, so that I can transition from one class to the next, is I'll create a new class with the year like written behind it. So it'd be my World Geo 2019 or 2018-19. And I would just kind of transition over to that. And then I would start using that. And later I would just edit the name of it, if that makes sense. That's what I did this past year.
Awesome.
That's great. That's definitely another way to do it.
This is a super important question, something that we on the support team get asked a lot. This is from Amy. If the students don't need to have an account when they use the link I've sent it to them, can I see if they're participating? If you have an upgraded Quizlet Teacher account, you will only be able to see your students' class progress if they create a free account and join your class. If students don't have an account, we have nothing to attribute their study activity back to. It just sort of goes into the ether. So the free student account creation process will be super important if you decide to buy a Quizlet Teacher subscription. And it's super simple, and there are resources in our Help Center for the quickest, easiest way to get all of your students signed up, since things can get a little wonky there with kids getting off task or not listening or whatever. But as long as you can coordinate your kids, it's 30 seconds to a minute to get them signed up for a free account.
And I forgot, can I add something real quick?
Absolutely.
I'm so sorry. I forgot to tell you or show y'all, but when I have my class progress view, I can see how many of what percentage of my students are getting what topic or whatnot. And I will actually put that on the large screen and show the students. And it's a great checkpoint for them to know, oh, you know what? Only 56% of the students understand this topic. So that's obviously a shortcoming of mine and not theirs. And that's a good thing for them to know, like, okay, I'm at a good place. But it's also holding them accountable in a way, because they know I can see it. And I don't assign it for homework. I don't assign it for a grade, but I do require the students use their own names. We're one-to-one campus, so that's easy to do. They just use whatever their login is for their computer. I have them use that for their Quizlet account. And we actually set those accounts up in the very beginning of the school year. It's like something we do on week 1. And I'll do a fun get to know you back to school Quizlet just to welcome them in. But we do that as soon as we get our computers. And so that's something you can set up in the very beginning of the year. And it's just a requirement in my class, and they know that.
Yeah, and that actually reminds me of something that's similar but a little bit different. If you are setting this all up at the beginning of the school year, a really wonderful thing that we've heard from teachers is that they actually create a Quizlet study set with, the class rules or certain instructions. And, to kick off the whole let's get started on this lesson plan, they'll actually have the students participate in a round of Quizlet Live or something like that to make it a little bit more fun. But the more that you can actually introduce the platform as you're training people on it, the better.
Yeah, I agree. You can also sometimes, teachers, if they have younger students, I saw a question about age issues for kids making their own accounts. If a student is under age 13, they are required to sign up for Quizlet using a parent's email address. Typically for teachers with kids in 3rd grade, 4th grade who are totally capable of using Quizlet, what I do is I suggest creating a Quizlet account and joining the class as a little homework assignment during the first week or first 2 weeks of school. That way, parents get familiar with Quizlet, they feel comfortable with the website or the app and what their child will be doing on it and kind of understand how you as a teacher are using it. And you get the benefit of account creation happening magically at home and not having to deal with it in the classroom.
That's exactly right. And we showed this a little earlier in the session, but we'll make sure to include a link in the chat box. But we've actually developed a couple of simple handouts where you can actually send that home with your students as an assignment to go create an account either on their own if they're over, they're 13 or over, or an account along with their parent if they're under 13.
Yep. I'd like to answer another class progress question from Gina, which is a great one. To clarify, if I have a paid account and I use another teacher's set that I add to my class, will it still track student progress? Yes, absolutely. You do not have to create all of the sets that you add to your class. As long as you are an upgraded Quizlet teacher, any set you put in your class and assign your students to study, you'll be able to see their study activity. Claire, how are we doing on time?
We have a couple more minutes right now.
11:21.
Oh, okay.
So if Amalia, you want to?
Yeah, so I don't know how we got back to this screen, but this was our presentation. And we actually put together a really special offer just for, Quizlet Unconference attendees. We're so happy that you could make this session and that you're hanging out with us today to learn more about Quizlet. We're actually offering 50% off Quizlet Teacher. So it is normally $35.99 for the entire year, so it's an annual subscription basis. But right now we're offering it for 50% off that, which means you're only paying $1.50 per month if you break it down by month. So go ahead, grab this link. We'll make sure to share this in the chat box. We'll also make sure to kind of share this with a follow-up email to you all. But this is a really special offer. This is like the lowest we'll ever go. And of course, when you do upgrade, you get access to all these wonderful features, but you also support Quizlet and the ability for us to offer free tools to so many students around the world. So it's a really wonderful thing. And just to clarify, this offer is good until, I believe, the end of day Friday, August 3rd. So go ahead, follow that link. The only way that you will be able to take advantage of this offer is to actually follow this link. So make sure to do that if you're interested in upgrading to Quizlet Teacher after the session, after today, after tomorrow. And then one thing I did want to mention that offer is great for teachers who are who aren't currently upgraded to Quizlet Teacher or have not upgraded in the past. But if you are one of those who is currently upgraded, or a bunch of you at your school use Quizlet Teacher, there's also kind of a year-round discount that you can take advantage of. And it's a special discount for when you're upgrading as a group. And you can do this with a group as small as one other person, or a group of 3 or more. So if your entire department was interested, or your entire school, this is really great because we offer this year-round. So you can save 20 to 25% depending on how many upgrades you're purchasing at once. And what's really nice about this is that if there is a group of you at your school who are on Quizlet Teacher, this really streamlines the renewal process for you. Instead of each person individually having to go to the school admin or renew on their own, this is something that one person can generate the discount, check out and pay, and then share one link to everyone included in that group. If they follow that link, the upgrade will be activated on their account. So if they are a free account, if they have a free account, it will add a year of Quizlet Teacher. And if they have an account that is currently upgraded to Quizlet Teacher, but they're not near the renewal period, this link will also add an additional year. So that means they don't have to wait until their upgrade is up for renewal. Everyone can just use this one link and save a lot of time and headache with that renewal process. So again, we'll make sure to share these links in the chat box. But how are we doing on time? Any time for one more question, or is that good? I think that's all we have time for.
Yeah.
So thanks so much, Courtney. We really appreciate your support. That was a wonderful presentation. I'm so glad that you're finding value out of all of these great features.